I'm Derek Muller. I'm the creator of a YouTube channel called Veritasium. It's all about science. It has nearly 4 million subscribers and over 320 million views.
I'm Feross Aboukhadijeh, and I work on open source software and specifically the WebTorrent project. WebTorrent is an open source torrent app that lets you download content from peer-to-peer networks.
My name is Grant Sanderson. I run a math channel on YouTube called 3 Blue 1 Brown. It centers around visualizing math in different ways, and generally they're longer form videos, kind of on the order of 15 to 20 minutes.
I think I do generally consider YouTube to be a free, open, and democratic platform. It's free in the sense that you don't have to pay anything to use the site. It's open in the sense that everyone with an internet connection and the capability to make a video can upload a video. It's democratic in that I don't think YouTube tries to put their finger on the scale too much in terms of what gets watched and what doesn't get watched. Having said that, there's caveats to each of those answers in that it's not quite democratic because there is an algorithm which decides what gets surfaced, and when people search, what rises to the top. Of course, there has to be some way because it's such a giant database of things. It's not fully free in that you are paying with your attention when you watch ads, and the ad money then goes to pay the creators. And it's not completely open in that if you make a video that YouTube disagrees with, goes against the policies of the site, they can take it down.
This highlights sort of the trade-off you make when you use a centralized platform. You're playing by their rules, and they can change those rules at any given time. If instead of posting your video to YouTube, you posted your video on your own website that you host yourself, and then there's nothing stopping you short of the law of the country that you live in from posting whatever you'd like on that site.
I don't generally think that YouTube censors content. There are exceptions, of course, in that YouTube doesn't want some material on the site. That's, I think, extreme material, things like really terrible violence or things that people consider very offensive. So, the site has certain terms of what is on the site, and I think that is for good reasons and not generally for censorship reasons.
Free speech does not mean you can say whatever you want on whatever platform you want, and the people who own that platform have to allow it. It just means that the government can't do anything, they can't arrest you for saying things, right? And in that way, I think YouTube and their system of advertisers has the right to choose what they put their stuff on however they want, right? And that's never going to be a form of censorship. Censorship would be if it's illegal to put out certain messages, or if it's if YouTube takes down your video for something like that. But saying that you're not allowed to monetize on that, that's a market speaking, right? That is advertisers saying they don't want to be part of it.
Just because there's no ads on a piece of content does not mean that it's censored. I mean, the video can still be there, it just no longer is generating revenue. Is that a form of censorship? Not in my opinion, because the video is still there saying the same thing. It's not generating money, but I think anyone who claims that it's censorship is basically behaving in a way that I would consider entitled. You're not entitled to anything. I mean, you're engaging with a platform to get a particular service. If you're not happy with the service that it's providing, you can go elsewhere.
It's a difficult trade-off though, right? Because there's a lot of reasons why you want to post on YouTube. You have a huge audience just sitting there waiting to see your videos. And so there's a lot of reasons to continue to post on YouTube. But I think that the right way to think about it if you're a content creator is you want to use the platform for its benefits, but you don't want to become overly reliant on it and be in a situation where if YouTube ceased to exist, that you would have no relationship with your viewers anymore. So you want to build up your own email list, for example.
So I would say where it is probably problematic and where I do feel like maybe things are more centralized is most of my connection with the audience is just through YouTube, right? And most of the reach that I have or the potential for a new video I create to go to people is entirely in the whims of YouTube and whether you fall into the good graces of the recommender engine. And that feels suboptimal, right? That means I kind of am dependent on that as a system. The success of a given video, as measured by how many people it reaches or how deeply it does, is just largely dictated by the whims of the recommending algorithm in a way that is a little uncomfortable at times.
the default way that people build websites and web businesses is structured in a way that centralizes a lot of control with the site owner. Is this the way it has to be? Is there any technical reason why the systems have to be designed the way they are now? And the answer is no. We have the technology to do better. There are a lot of peer-to-peer systems in existence today, things like BitTorrent or my project WebTorrent, that demonstrate that you can build things that don't have these pitfalls, these privacy problems, and where the users don't have to give up control to the platform just to be able to talk to their friend.
Do I think users have an avenue to change how YouTube does business? I mean, in the age of social media, yes, and like users have the avenues to change how any business runs it just by expressing their opinions loudly and annoyingly enough. Maybe if they did view some of these issues as being legitimate censorship, I think that would translate to YouTube's changing its behavior, because most important for them beyond anything else is maintaining their positive public perception.
What is digital sharecropping? So the term sharecropping originates from like post-Civil War America, where people basically would live on a big farm and work the land, but they didn't own the land themselves. So most of the economic benefits of the farm work went to the owner of the land. So digital sharecropping is basically the same thing. It's a form of feudalism, but it's done sort of in a digital context. So this is basically the idea that on a lot of web platforms today, the production of content is done by many people, but the economic benefits of that work accumulate to the very few people who own the platform.
What are my opinions on digital sharecropping? I think that there are a lot of sites out there where, we do offer up a lot of information, and we release a lot of our privacy for a perceived benefit. YouTube in particular, I feel like is less a form of digital sharecropping than a lot of other sites like Facebook, because on YouTube, the creators are rewarded monetarily in a way that I think virtually no other site does. So in that way, I would say the YouTube does a particularly good job of rewarding creators, whereas on other sites there can be more digital sharecropping because you have all of these people voluntarily giving information to the site. I do think that view might be a little bit too strong, though, because people do things that are in their interests. So I don't think it's like feudal farming, because in those cases the people really didn't have a choice. Here, people do really have a choice, and I think they engage in these contracts willingly because they see a benefit in it. Whether a larger centralized organization wins or gains a lot from that, I don't think it necessarily means that the people who are sharing their information are losing.
Why does it matter if the internet is centralized or decentralized? From the very beginning, the internet was designed to be decentralized, meaning no part of the network infrastructure is so crucial that the network couldn't survive without it. What sort of has been built on top of the internet is this idea of the web, or websites, and the web is actually a very centralized system.
So the question is, do I think we have freedom of expression online, or is all of the control centralized in a few major companies? I'm not sure that it's mutually exclusive, because I think that we do have freedom of expression online, and I also think that a few major companies have a lot of control. Part of what makes us able to share and makes that sharing most effective is the fact that there are these centralized entities that allow us access to share with a lot of people. If we were to go onto, a more splintered internet and try to share in that environment, maybe we can share across many, many different small platforms, but we'd probably reach a smaller audience because of the splintering of the internet. So in that way, I feel like the large corporations and the large centralization enables effective sharing with lots of people.
One of my friends has a great quote about this. He was building a social network. His name is Dominic Tarr, and he has this great quote where he said, I want to build a social network that's safe against future Dominic. Meaning, if he turns evil later in the future, that there will be nothing that he can possibly do to ruin the experience, to make user hostile changes to the service, because it's designed from the very beginning in a way that technically prevents that from happening.
I think it's probably wise for the internet to be decentralized rather than centralized, just for practical reasons. Like, it would make it less easy to hack or bring down the whole system. Yeah, I think decentralization is a core part of a free and democratic internet.